What's going on, everybody? Mortym here, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the Secret World Legends. So if you don't know what the Secret World was to begin with, it is an MMO that actually launched back in 2011, and they recently decided to relaunch it as the Secret World Legend, much in a similar fashion to Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn. Basically, they thought they had a really good game, but that they didn't do it all that great the first time, so they went back, redid a bunch of stuff, and relaunched it essentially. So now, the Secret World was actually a game that I loved conceptually, but it played really badly. It just was not very good the first time around. So the entire progression system was incredibly free form. You had access to all the weapons, all of the charts. You just had to go through a small little section of the charts for like skills and passives and stuff, and then you could access the greater thing as a whole. So the problem with that is that it basically made it impossible to people who are new to the game to really get into it because the learning curve was gigantic. So the main thing that they did with this relaunch, there's a lot of stuff that's changed, honestly, as someone who's played it, but coming in from someone who hasn't played it at all, the main thing that I would want to talk about, and what I'm going to talk about, is the combat system. So if we press in, we'll bring up our chart for all of our abilities and our passives. Now this used to be a wheel-like system, so they've changed it to all 9 of the primary or secondary weapons you could use in the old game, which were an assault rifle, dual pistols, a shotgun, elementalism, which is like a talisman, chaos magic, blood magic, fist weapons, a hammer, and a blade. Now, if you don't know much about the Secret World, essentially you're this occult superhero. You've been empowered by the Earth, basically, with anima, and you channel that through weapons, which gives you various focuses for your magic, and you get abilities and passives through those. So with that said, you have these weapons. Now, they cut out a bunch of abilities. Like, a lot of this stuff is still the same, but every single one of these has its own unique mechanic. So right now, I'm using elementalism and a fist weapon. But just to give you a little bit of insight, for instance, elementalism, its unique thing is thermotics. Basically, every fire or electric attack I use builds heat, which increases my damage, but if it maxes out, I get too hot, I can't use anything, and then you have to use cold magic to come back down. So that's kind of what it does. And then fist magic, I build up fury, and then I get to use this frenzied wrath, or for healing I could use invigorating wrath, which burns my fury for upgraded versions of my attacks. So stuff like that was not a thing in the original Secret World, so they added something like that to every single weapon, which I thought was really cool, actually. It works pretty well. In addition to doing that, like I said, when you started the game beforehand, it was all incredibly free form, and now you actually have to pick a class at the beginning of the game. And what the class does is it picks 2 of these weapon combinations that fall in line with some of the old stuff they did beforehand to kind of give you a starting point until you know what you're doing. Now that said, despite picking a class, you're not actually tied to any of that stuff. For instance, Magus, which is what I started with, starts with elementalism and chaos magic, but I changed the chaos magic over to the fist weapon because I just didn't like the combination. And you can do stuff like that. You can pick any one of these. You are not actually tied to those things. But probably the coolest thing about it, other than just kind of learning how to play the game through that stuff, is you actually get unique outfits once you've mastered all this. Like, I have every skill on here for elementalism, including level 1 of this end one. And that allows me to unlock a unique outfit specific to that class, which I thought was pretty cool. So from here, this is all our active abilities, and if you click over, we have passive skills, which you use a separate currency for, which is this SP right here, as opposed to the AP you earn. Now, you actually earn experience towards both of these at the same time, you just earn them at different rates. And then passive skills will give you bonuses to base stats, as well as picking passives that actually affect your abilities. Like this one adds a bleed to my Savage Sweep, which is this move right here. So that's hands down the biggest change, and not just that, this used to be a tab target system, but as you can see now, it's a reticule style. So the nice thing about that is, for this particular game, it just makes more sense. When they first launched, it had the tab target, which was okay, but it made the combat feel insanely weird. It was just an odd way to play a game like this. Not that I don't have a problem with tab targeting, it just didn't fit this game very well. So it just didn't make a lot of sense. The reticule actually makes the combat feel like you're doing something, as opposed to the tab target. I'm essentially just, hitting buttons. That said, they also actually added a level system in. As you can see, this guy's level 36, which it caps out at 50 at the moment. So basically, they did that because, again, that initial learning curve was so gigantic. There wasn't a level system on anything they did. It was just however you got your passives or your skills or whatever was what you did. And now with this level system, you can actually out-level some of the things around you to where they basically do nothing to you. And because of that, it's just a lot easier to get into. That was a very difficult thing to get used to in the original version of this game. Now, they also streamlined a bunch of stuff. Like, this game had 1,000,001 vendors back in the day. Like, all sorts of different stuff. So now, because you're not using armor in this game, everything is entirely cosmetic. If you go to your dressing room off your character menu, you used to have to go to an actual vendor to buy things, but now if you just click on unowned, you can click on it, and then you can see what it would cost me to purchase that particular outfit, and you can go through here. Now, because I have got the end of that elementalism skill line that I showed you, it gives you a unique outfit, and I am wearing the elementalism stuff for that particular class, which is this right here. The black sweater isn't actually part of it. That just matched really well. So yeah, a bunch of stuff like that. So that's pretty much all I'm going to go into right now. I don't know how much interest this reboot will actually give this game. That said, it does have 4K support. While it does have that, it was a little difficult to get used to because it doesn't seem like they really planned for the UI as much. It's very hard to figure out where to customize the UI, which, by the way, you can. If you go into the mouse mode and then click this tiny little icon up here, it'll actually let you move all of this stuff around, which if you're playing at 4K, you'll have to do because the UI is inherently incredibly small. Like, this bar down here was like the size of the yellow lines on the road here. I had to up it so much so I could actually see it on 4K. So little things like that, it would have been nice if they did something about. But it was nice that they got rid of all of these vendors. Like, as you leveled up, you used to be able to upgrade your sprint, which is how you do it. You just run super fast using your anima powers as opposed to mounts. That said, there are actual mounts you can still get. As you can see here, mounts and things like that you can use. But most of it, you're just running around at super speed because of your powers. And there used to be vendors for that as well. Now you just open the Sprint's Pets menu, come over here to Speed, click that little plus icon, and it gives you an option to upgrade it. So they did a great job of getting you out of the hub areas and into the main game. Now, real quick before we go, they made all of these menus, which seems like a lot, but there's a lot going on. In addition to all of that other stuff, they added a teleport system so you can actually just jump straight to areas you've been to. Now, it starts out with the hubs, which is like the main town for each faction, and the factions are Templar, the Dragon, and the Illuminati, which, why not, obviously. So the Templars are probably my favorite just because they're cool. They each have their own aesthetic and everything, but they also each have their own hub city around the world. London, Seoul, and New York for the Illuminati. And the way they tile that together is that all of those are connected to the world tree, which is like the world allowing you to move through it because it's it made you its agent, so it's letting you do it. So if you come over here to your teleport menu, teleport to Agartha, which is the main hub for the entire game. Think of it as like a main city. And you wind up here in this big community thing. Now, this is another thing they overhauled. I'm not going to go into all of the things they've changed, but this used to be entirely different. Like all those branches up there, you would actually have to run along those to get to where you're going. Now, from a game design standpoint, I actually love this because it allows for endless expansion if you want to keep adding areas. Because right now, there's Solomon Island in New England. There is you get to go to Egypt as parts of it, Transylvania, and a thing in Tokyo as well. Now, that said, because of the way the system works, they could just keep adding to this all day long. But the way it works right now is this is your main community hub area. It's a free-to-play game, so there are vendors and stuff here where you can buy your standard free-to-play stuff, your auction houses and stuff. But while they do have actual merchants and stuff for that, every single one of those things can also be accessed from the menu itself. Like, I could go in there and talk to the auction house guy, or I could just press H and bring up the auction house. Like, it's exactly the same. Like, I'm selling a couple things here. That's literally all you have to do. Now, from there, you can jump onto these little warp pads, and it'll take you to certain other areas, depending on where you're going. This one leads to like public dungeons and stuff like that. But as you can see, really cool concept. It's one of the things they overhauled. It didn't actually used to be this functional. I mean, it was here. It was just much more of a pain to navigate. Like, this whole room didn't used to exist. But now they have all these vendors. Now, that said, if you do decide to try out this game, again, it is completely free to play, so you don't need anything. You just have to make an account. If you have an old The Secret Worlds account and you log in with that, you can actually transfer all your old clothing items to your new account, as well as keep all your character slots and stuff. So they have up to 3 character slots, 1 for each faction, but because of the way their combat system works, with you essentially being able to max out everything eventually, there isn't a reason for more than 1 if you're doing free to play. I mean, you can do more than 1 for the factions, but I would tell you the factions don't change anything. The missions they had for those have actually been taken out because they didn't make a lot of sense to the rest of the game, to be honest. So the last thing I'm going to mention here is you might remember the auxiliary weapon system if you actually played the game back then, and best I can tell, it's been removed. I haven't been able to find anything on it. I'm not 100% sure that it's completely gone, because I still see the occasional NPC use them. However, best I can tell, I don't seem to have player access to it at the moment. When I hit max level, I guess I'll find out. But that said, The Secret World, it's free to play. You should definitely check it out. If people like this video, I might do some more videos on it in the future. It is a game I love conceptually. It just didn't play very well when it was first released. And with all this updates to the combat and stuff, it's actually really fun to play now. I've been playing it quite a bit the past few days. So I hope you enjoyed the video. You guys should definitely check the game out. If you liked it, please subscribe. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.